process model. To begin with, we are going to understand the flow of the PRINCE2 processes. This is a very high-level introduction. We are just going to discuss the objectives of each process and their flow. Processes will be discussed in detail in other videos. As we already know, there are 7 PRINCE2 processes, and the first process is starting up a project, and it is a pre-project process. The trigger for the SU process is the project mandate. The project mandate should provide the terms of reference for the project and should contain sufficient information to identify at least the prospective executive of the project board. It can be in any form, written or verbal, or an email. The project mandate comes from the corporate or program management. The objective of the SU process is to ask a simple question: do we have a viable project? Is the investment a good business decision? Is it worthwhile to continue? If worthwhile, then we want to initiate the project. But if it is not worthwhile, then we don't want to initiate the project. Though as a project manager, you may believe it to be a worthwhile project, but you cannot make the decision and has to go to the project board, who sits in the directing a project process for decision making. A request to initiate a project needs to be sent by the project manager to the project board, who in the DP process has to make a decision whether to authorize initiation or not to authorize initiation. The project board can decide to stop or give the authority to initiate a project. Let's assume that the project board gave the authority to initiate. Once we get the authority to initiate, we are in the initiating a project process. Our objective is to get the project authorized for delivery. A request to deliver a project needs to be sent to the project board. The project board has to make a decision whether to authorize the project or not to authorize the project. IP is the official start of the PRINCE2 project. So, if the project board says stop, it is a premature closure. Let's be positive and say we got the authority to deliver the project. Still, we cannot start delivery of the specialist product, as according to Manage by Stages principle, we need to get the stage authorized as well. We create the stage plan in the Managing a Stage Boundary process and send a request to the project board to approve the stage plan. Again, the project board needs to make a decision whether to authorize stage or exception or not to authorize. Again, let's assume that we got the authority to deliver a stage. Remember, we need 2 authorities: authority to deliver a project and authority to deliver a stage before we can start delivering of the specialist product. Once the project is authorized for delivery and the stage plan is approved, we can start the delivery of the specialist product. The processes used is controlling a stage and managing product delivery. The CS and MP process can happen many times till the final product of the project is delivered. Once all the products are delivered, we are in the closing a project process. The project manager recommends project closure to the project board. The project board needs to make a decision whether to authorize project closure or not. Before the project can be closed, we need to get the authority to close the project by the project board. As you can see, the project board authorizes. They authorize initiation, they authorize the project, authorize stage or exception, authorize project closure. The project board also gives ad hoc direction. As and when required, the project board can ask you to do something different or close the project prematurely. As and when required, the project manager can go to the project board for advice. For a project manager to move from one process to the next process, the project manager should send a request to the project board, and the project board should give authority to proceed. For every arrow going up, an arrow should come down, as you can see here. This is just a simple flow of processes. In the next topic, we will see how this processes fits into stages. Management stages. A PRINCE2 project is planned, monitored, and controlled on a stage-by-stage basis. These stages are referred to as management stages. Management stages are partitions of the project with management decision points. Management stages provide review and decision points, giving the project board the opportunity to assess the project viability at regular intervals. Management stages are used by the project board to make decisions and commit resources. We can have as many stages as we need, but a minimum of 2 stages is a must. The initiation stage is mandatory. There should be at least 1 delivery stage to cover the remainder of the project. Some of the factors determining the length and number of stages are scale and complexity, level of risk. If the project is highly risky, then we need more control, so more stages. Planning horizon. How far can you safely plan ahead? And finally, where the key decision points need to be on the project. PRINCE2 processes. Let's now understand how the 7 processes fits into the management stages. As we know, a minimum of 2 stages is a must in PRINCE2. For the purpose of understanding this topic, let's take an example of a project with 3 stages, represented by these 3 boxes. The first management stage is called initiation stage, and the rest of the management stages are delivery stages. Since we have 3 stages, the first is initiation stage, second is delivery, and the third is final delivery. No matter how many stages there are in a project, they always follow this pattern. The first stage is always the initiation stage, and the last one is always the final delivery stage. All the stages in between are just delivery stages. Starting up a project is the first process and is not part of any stage. It is a pre-project process. The trigger for the SU process is the project mandate, which comes from the corporate or program management. The purpose of the starting up a project process is to ensure that the prerequisites for initiating a project are in place by answering the question, do we have a viable and worthwhile project? We want to be in the initiation stage if it is a viable and worthwhile project. If it is not a viable project, we don't want to initiate. In SU process, we do the minimum necessary in order to decide whether it is worthwhile to even initiate the project. Before the project manager can move into a stage, he or she should seek authority from the project board. After the SU process, the project board needs to make a decision in the DP process, whether to authorize initiation or not to authorize initiation. Let's be positive and assume our project is worthwhile and we got the authority to initiate. We are in the initiation stage and the first process is initiating a project process. The purpose of the initiating a project process is to establish solid foundations for the project, enabling the organization to understand the work that needs to be done to deliver the project's products before committing to a significant spend. Our objective is to get the project authorized for delivery. This is a very important process as it lays down the foundation in order to achieve a successful project. Lots of work needs to be done before the project board can commit to the project. Before moving to the delivery stage, the project board needs to make a decision whether to authorize the project delivery or not to authorize project delivery. Let's again be positive and say the project board gave the authority to deliver the project. Now remember, We can't start delivering as we have not got our stage plan approved. The initiation stage is not yet over. End of stage approaching, and the process is managing stage boundary, where we review the current stage and plan the next stage. A decision needs to be made by the project board whether to authorize the stage or exception. We are not going to discuss exception now. It will be explained later in the course. Again, let's assume that we got the authority to deliver a stage. Now remember, we need to get two authorities before we can start the first delivery stage. Authority to deliver the project and authority to deliver the stage to start delivering the specialist product. As we got both the authority, we are in the first delivery stage. The process used in the delivery stage is controlling a stage and managing product delivery. It is possible that these two processes can be repeated many times. This will be covered in detail later. End of stage approaching, and the process is managing a stage boundary. Remember, according to manage by stages principle, we cannot go into a stage without having a plan for that stage and get the plan approved by the project board. Again, assuming we got the authority to deliver the stage, we are in the final delivery stage, as we have only 3 stages. Since it is a delivery stage, we will have controlling a stage and managing product delivery process. End of stage is approaching. As this is the final delivery stage and the process is closing a project, in PRINCE2 there is no stage called closing a project stage. All the stages after initiation is a delivery stage, and closing a project is a process of the final delivery stage. The project board needs to make a decision to close the project. The project can be closed after getting the authority to close the project. As we already know, the project board directs and authorizes. They authorize initiation, authorize project, authorize stage or exception, and finally authorize project closure. The project board can make decision anytime as and when needed. They can ask you to close the project prematurely if required, which is part of ad hoc direction. The project board also needs to notify the corporate or program management of the major decision taken. The project board sends 3 notifications to the corporate or program management: initiation notification, project authorization notification, and closure notification. One more point. As we can see, CS and MP is part of all the delivery stages. But for complex or lengthy initiation, controlling a stage and managing product delivery can be optionally used to manage the initiation stage. Summary. Let's recap few of the important points we learned in this session. A project is a temporary organization that is created for the purpose of delivering one or more business products according to an agreed business case. Project involves a team of people with different skill and knowledge. The 4 integrated elements of PRINCE2 are principles, themes, processes, and tailoring. Principles are the guiding obligations and good practices which determine whether the project is genuinely being managed using PRINCE2. PRINCE2 can be applied to any type of project. PRINCE2 ensures that stakeholders are properly represented and defines a thorough but economical structure of reports. The 6 aspects of project performance to be managed or variables are cost, timescale, quality, scope, risk, and benefits. This is the end of the introduction session. Please make sure that you do the practice questions to reinforce the knowledge gained in this session and check your understanding. See you in the next session, Business Case Theme.